Good morning, viewers across the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago. If you're watching from Dominica, Curacao, wherever, YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is an amazing Wednesday morning here in Scarborough, Tobago, and you're tuning in to Book Club Corner, and we're so happy to have you. I am Jewel Green, your host, and today, like every Wednesday, we're chatting with an author, a publishing industry stakeholder, or a journalist. And today we have the amazing Jeunanne Alkiins with us today, and she's going to be chatting with us about her books. Jeunanne is the author of Playmass, Alex the Awesome, and Crazy Quest for the Golden Pod, The Most Magnificent, Island Babies, which is Ready, Set, Hatch. And she's also a graphic designer, a creative director, and the founder of EdTech. Welcome.
Good morning, Joel.
Good morning. It's so lovely to have you here with us in Tobago.
I know, in person.
Yes.
And I got to, claim this was a work trip.
Listen, work trips can be fun too, right? Okay, so I am all right there with you. Listen, today on Book Club Corner, you know how we do it. We have to get into our wine. We want to thank our sponsors, Luke Lashley of LLW Exotic Wines for his sorrel wine. We're getting into that today. And we also want to thank I for Design, who gives us a beautiful centerpiece. It's hidden today with books, but he gives us a beautiful centerpiece, and we want to thank Luke Lashley. And we also want to thank Joe Field Wines, because he has supported us since the very start of Book Club Corner. But today, we want to, one, wish Dr. Merle Hodge a happy belated birthday, and we will be giving cheers to Dr. Merle Hodge. Her birthday was on the 15th of January. Like myself, we're January born, and happy belated birthday to you, Dr. Hodge. I hope you had a wonderful day. But you know how we do it. We have to do the 5 S's of wine tasting, because we have to taste the wine, right? We have to see what's going on here. And we have a sorrel wine today. And what we're doing is we look at the wine, we look at the clarity. It has a really nice pink, kind of almost peachy look to it, right? And then we swirl the wine. And we're looking for legs for the sugar content. And you wait until it runs down the glass and you look at those legs. And this one isn't very sweet. Listen, I have high hopes. And then we sniff the wine. I'm getting some very complex hints. Luke, you've done it again. And then we sip and we savor. This one is a truly medium wine. It is delicious. And we're still into Christmas because we're drinking sorrel wine, right? We just don't have any gifts for the Christmas tree out, but let me tell you, sorrel is for all year round, just like ham.
Yeah, I'm a firm advocate for sorrel. It's not seasonal. I don't know why.
Exactly. Listen, this is a beautiful wine. Get your sorrel wine from LLW Wines. That is Luke Lashley out of Trinidad. And we support local here. We drink local, we eat local, we play local, and we read local and read Caribbean. And today we'll be getting into some amazing books from Jeunanne Alkiins. And we're going on a quick break. This is going to give you a chance to go get your own drink, your own snacks, and to come right back right here on Book Club Corner as we chat with Miss Jeunanne Alkiins. And welcome back to all our viewers across the Caribbean. We're here with author, creative, just a dynamic writer, Jeunanne Alkiins. Welcome back, Jeunanne, and we're going to get into your books. But before we get into these books, I was reading some stuff about you, and you went from working at Mako to being a full-time author, entrepreneur, creative. Tell us about that journey.
So the author journey is the most recent of my different career paths, but I've always been a creative. So when I left my last full-time job, which was in publishing at Mako, I started to freelance, basically doing books and book design. And then I started to take on projects that were branding and packaging and a whole plethora of different design work and across various industries, from finance to hospitality to entertainment. And so at that point, when the projects got larger than me, I partnered with my colleague who had also left her job at the same time, Shelley, and we worked on a lot of projects. I started the company, Everything Side Pepper, so that was soon after leaving, and that's 15 years ago now.
Yes.
I've been doing this work, well, for 15 years, and then about in 2016 is when I started the kids brand, which is Bright Eyed. And initially it started with doing t-shirt designs as a fundraising idea for turtle conservation. And then I added on the book. So that's how I ended up being an author. I haven't considered myself an author until maybe like last year.
Yeah.
Because I think of myself as a creative director or like an immersive type of designer where I'm not necessarily sitting down writing novels or scripts. I use words and pictures together. So my role is both visual and written. But I definitely believe it too. Obviously, elements of story.
That's an interesting concept. So you look at the books that you're doing as just products of your creativity.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, oh, I'm an author of these books.
I believe in story, right? So I'm not necessarily the type of author who has written stories and sitting down trying to get it published, all these manuscripts, that type of way. And that's why I haven't gone that route, because I enjoy the design part of things.
Right.
I have a very distinct aesthetic in my head of how to serve each story. So each of the books that I've done look very different because I wanted to capture different things, right? So that's why I didn't really go the traditional publishing route, because I would have had to let go and I wasn't ready to compromise. Because what I wanted to capture was not only in how the story, the elements of how I write, because of my background not being exposed to a lot of children. There are elements of how I write that make it easy to read for somebody who doesn't interact with kids a lot. These are auntie-friendly books, right? There are visual cues in the typography and the layout that tell you how to inject that kind of oomph into it when it doesn't come naturally to you.
Okay.
Right?
That's interesting, and I really like that that's what you're doing in terms of your creativity. You know, when you decided to write for children, why that age group and that genre of writing children's books?
Yeah.
That really creative and imaginative world where anything is possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I'm a visual person, the picture book format appeals to me because I do like to write. One of the career paths I considered was copywriting.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily a whole set of writing, but short, tight, sweet copy I like.
Yes.
I think picture books kind of give me the opportunity to flex that muscle. But specifically children's books because, well, first of all, it started off as an outlet for me. I was doing a lot of corporate work, and there's a lot of rules, and you can't really get too wild with it, right?
Yes.
And I felt like the children's space was just like, once you do something that works, there are no rules. I could break rules. I'm a rule breaker, right? So, and it's dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So, and I love illustration. So I thought, how does the illustration style also serve the story, right? So I got to play with a lot of elements that for me as a designer, I was excited by, because sometimes when you're doing like a lot of corporate magazine work, it could be a little monotonous.
Yes.
So because it's safe, right?
Yeah.
You can't really go too wild because that wouldn't inspire confidence in the company, right?
Yes, and they give you a brief of what they want.
Exactly,
so you
and most times you're reporting facts and figures. They're expected to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Whereas in the children's book world, I was like, I did a project with Marshall Montano, Boy Boy and the Magic Drum.
Yes.
And through that project, I was like, there are things I can do that offer those visual cues of how to read it. Because there's a line, ping pong, ping pong or something like that.
Yes.
And the rhythmic parts of it. And I was like, okay, so I can play with these words and make them bigger because you're supposed to raise your voice, right?
Yes.
So that's when I started to think, okay, this is fun. I like this. So the first book I did, Ready, Set, Hatch, I did everything in the book. I wrote it, well, I was scripting for an illustrator and then I ended up getting carried away. So I was like, well, I might as well finish the illustration sketches I've done.
Yeah.
I was kind of writing notes for a writer to bring on board. And then by the end, I was like, this doesn't need to have more words than this, right? And then I put a little, I started to use onomatopoeia and a lot of alliteration, so those kind of things on a page that have now become a kind of signature style of what I do. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then, well, I just did it, right? I tried to do it again and I couldn't repeat that.
Yes.
But subsequently, I've been working with really talented, mostly local teams, which I'm so proud of. And working with artists who maybe it's their first time ever doing a book, which is really cool. And then I get to focus on my parts. You know?
Yes. I see that this latest book you have, which is Play Mass,
Yeah,
right?
Play a Math, yeah.
Well, we're coming right into Carnival, right? And you know, everybody out there and their grannies trying to get a mass ready body.
Yeah.
Right? A carnival ready body. And this book, I love the colors of the cover. When you looked at the cover itself, when you thought of the design, what inspired you? Because what we see is a lot of masks, but we see very monochromatic, just black and white, but this color, pop of color in the middle.
Yeah.
What was your idea in terms of this cover? Why you did it like this?
Yeah. So I'm a real carnival baby on all ends, from pretty mass to traditional to everything, to all inclusive, to cooler, to anything, right? I have been like this since kiddies. I was introduced by kiddies and I never stopped. My brother said no, not for him, and I just did not stop, right? And you know, as the years are progressing, I'm like, the traditional aspects are getting less and less, but I like much of our indigenous or historical content, right? So which has led to all the products. So I wanted to preserve it because every year I go to the traditional mass competition. They moved it from Victoria to Adam Smith Square now in Jeunanne, and there's less and less in certain categories. You might have a ton of mokos now because there's a resurgence, but there are very few Black Indian, Fancy Indian, like 2 or 1 burkit. So I was like, all right, where do you find information? And people would come to ask me because I had done the other books. Hey, after Magnificent, they were like, are you doing anything for Carnival? And I was like, well, you can go down, you know, check the village or wherever. But I was like, people need an introduction, right? And one place you can find out about as many of the characters as possible. So Play a Mass is started as an archival project, right? So it's a dossier of all the traditional mass characters, hence the reason the black and white. Because it was like, okay, if you have this one document that's passed on generation to generation, that introduces you. Nothing is too heavy in it, nothing gets too deep, but it's supposed to at least pique your interest to go looking further. So the whole book is in black and white. The backgrounds are very charcoaly, hand-drawn feel, which juxtaposed against the illustrations, which is that graphic, very influenced by Tim Burton and Dios los Muertos, that kind of bringing the Halloweeny vibe into it to modernize, because it's all about reimagining it, right? You know, I believe we need to evolve and meet children halfway. So if they like all this Halloween stuff or whatever, why can't we make our characters, as opposed to being traditional and culture and older, why can't we make them mystical and magical, right?
Yeah, we're talking Disney, right?
Yeah, Encanto and all these kinds of things. The art is, you know, of these older topics is meeting where the new stories are, Moana and all the other things that appeal to kids. So we did the black and white approach because I was like, you know, we can do so much in black and white. When you strip color out, you really focus on details. And then he said, it's still carnival though, so we'll bring back a little splash of the magic, and we brought that to these kaleidoscope type treatments throughout. So it's like a rainbow, and we then use onomatopoeia. So we have a big page which is whoosh or watak, or ting 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 ting. You know, like
Yes.
so we brought color back into there. But the responses were really interesting because people are like, it's so vibrant. And I'm like, it's black and white though. It just
Yes.
has splashes of color. But it's also trying to prove that that carnival does not necessarily have to be over
Yes. That
doing the color, right?
Coskel, what we call
Well,
Coskel.
I wasn't trying to use that word, but I mean, just meaning as in like, for things to pop, it has to contrast against something plainer. And that's how my approach is, right? One focal point. So that's it. That was the art direction for the book. And similarly to the writing style is guided by that want to create a bestiary or or almanac, right? So the writing style is not long on any character. We did 14. So you can't get in depth anyway, right? So we use a lot of adjectives. It's very descriptive. It's more about the costumes and the performance, and it's about history. Because that would have to be in another book individually. So you really treat it fairly.
Yeah.
Right? So you have about 8 lines. It's in rhyme. It's fun. It's easy. Right?
Yes.
But it's meant to say, for kids to be like, hey, I want to pull up on YouTube what a minstrel is.
Yes.
Right? I want to hear what is the clappers, you know? That type of thing. So it really is a jump off point that we're using to take the project way further. And then besides the traditional mass characters in it, we've also documented other things that are kind of disappearing from the streets, you know, because we have all-inclusive bands and there's less emphasis on these things. So we do have some ritual stuff inside of there. We have stick fighting, tambu bamboo, rhythm section, steel pan, bottle and spoon. Then we also documented in there street food because, you know, if everything inside the band, the vendors are dwindling. So we have from chicken foot sauce to roast corn, boiled corn,
I
to
love a good sauce.
to cotton candy and doubles. Because you know my company's name is actually my studio's name is Everything Slight Pepper. So,
and I
a
saw
chicken,
that.
chicken a double blender, of course. But yeah, the idea was like I'm a street food person, and that's one of the things I do when I visit a new country.
Yes.
I have an iron belly, so I going to try everything.
You know, I was now gonna say, you know, I do it, but listen, you gotta be brave though, because you never know what's happening. Because you're not accustomed. It's not that they're doing something weird or strange.
Yeah.
But you're not accustomed, you know. So, but street food is a great way to experience a new place.
It teaches you a lot about a country. You learn, obviously, you could tell by the types of foods. It tells you ethnicities.
Yes.
It tells a lot, right?
Yeah.
And you know, just even when you start to see certain ingredients, like you know how we love a shad benny, says a lot about Trinidad, or the sweeter palette with the ketchups and that kind of thing as condiments.
Well, across the Caribbean, we like our things a little sweeter than you know. Heinz ketchup is not our favorite, right? Because it's a little acid. But we love our Swiss and our Mabels, all of that.
I mean, we are all about supporting local.
Oh
so,
my God, I love it. Yeah, and listen. Fortunately, unfortunately, I remember when I was a student in Barbados, I decided I'm going to go back to Barbados and carry a whole stash of shadow benny with me, right? Because where we were staying, the soil was just very acid and the shadow benny just would not survive. So I got, you know, I went, you know, when you go to the wholesale market and you get this big bundle of shadow benny. So I put it in my jeans and I carry it over and Gil, I make seasoning for everybody, shadow benny and everything. There was this one Bajan friend of mine, every time I cook, he like, what is in this? This thing tastes bad. He could not stand shadow benny.
But you know, it's one of those things, it's a gene thing, I think.
It is.
Yeah, because my father and my grandmother on my father's side, hate shadow benny. So like growing up, it was not, we couldn't even have it. Even if it was showed up in the yard, it wasn't allowed.
Really?
Because for them, it tastes like shampoo, apparently.
It does. Listen, and I was like, what kind of Caribbean person are you? How could you desecrate my beloved Shadow Benny. But you know, these are some of the things we learn as Caribbean people, the different seasonings, the
Yeah.
different spices that work, and you know, who likes what a little more. Shadow Benny is a big thing in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if the other countries like our Shadow Benny as much
No.
as we like.
No,
Listen,
it's a TNT
and
thing. It's a
yeah.
Jamaica thing, yeah, for sure.
Listen, we're going on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting into more of this fantastical and magnificent author and all her book products, because they're not books, right? They are extensions of her creativity. Go get your drinks, because I know by now the ice melt, you drink out all whatever you brought. Go and get some more snacks. Come right back. Don't go far to Book Club Corner as we continue to chat with Miss Jeunanne Alkiins. Welcome back to Book Club Corner, where we are chatting with the amazing, the magnificent Jeunanne Alkiins about her children's book. We are going to be getting into a specific conversation now, and it is called Carnival Camp. What is it? Did I get it right?
Carnival was it's play a mass camp, but right now we
Yes.
in carnival school
Carnival
until
school.
it camp.
Listen, I loved it, like Sunday school, right?
Yeah.
It's carnival school.
Yeah.
Get into this carnival school, and it's for big people too. Is it
It's
for
for
little
everybody.
children?
It's for everybody. So the idea behind
So what, Granny and Grandpa could come too?
everybody,
I love
everybody,
it.
everybody. I mean, why can't we play a mass or make a mass as a family? Why do it have to be separated, you know?
I love that. So the family who plays mass together stays together.
Correct. Family that mix together, you know?
So when you come to carnival school,
Yeah.
what do you expect? What is going to be happening?
Okay, so first off, we start off a little more on the educational side, but super interactive. So building off of the most magnificent, we held an immersive exhibition at St. Myers Castle. So Play a Mass Camp is a play on camp, like summer camp, but it's also a mass camp,
Yes.
right? So the first part of it is we're bringing the book to life, larger than life illustrations, interactive elements to it, where you interact with the characters, you get to try a hand at instruments, that kind of thing, right? That is all ages. I mean, I never expected it when I was designing the Magnificent exhibition, but we had, as I said, from toddlers to retirement homes book to come and see it, right?
Yeah.
And posing in the cutouts and lying down on the turf that we put down to pretend you're in the savannah. It made me realize that, you know, we just, one, I feel we're starved for, you know, quality educational experiences that are also entertaining, or entertaining experiences that are also educational.
Yes.
And just different things to do. I'm an avid museum goer, and not necessarily like, you know, to look at archaeology or artifacts. I am more of an interactive museum type. I like to go to these really nice immersive shows. That's where I get a lot of my inspiration from, because I love this new world of design I've found, which is spatial and it's interactive, and it's taking, how do you bring something to life via in a tactile way? And one of the lessons we learned from the Magnificent exhibition was that we were able to tap into all kinds of learners. So we had differently able kids, right? We had a plethora of schools and different age groups. So what we're doing now with Player Mass is taking all that knowledge and designing deliberately that way this time. So tactile, interactive, still building and learning inside of there, because you do have some games that are cleverly word games, or, you know, we do things like, with the Magnificent, you had to make your own book cover and write your own author bio. But that's essay writing.
Yes, it is. It
right?
is.
So
Just a
similar.
difference in the topic.
Yeah. So similarly with Player Mass, our Midnight Rubber workshop, right? Which we do a series called Juice and Paint, right? We did a glow in the dark theme. And you're learning rubber talk too, learn how to rhyme like a rubber, right?
Yeah.
But so we're making it, packaging it as fun, but really and truly, it's a Trojan horse that it's
Yes.
educational.
What about speech band? Because in Tobago here we love speech band, right? And I was talking to you yesterday about, the Mariah wedding.
Yes.
They have a character in this wedding, and he comes to do a toast to greet
Yes.
the new couple. And he's what we call the big word man, right? He's using the most fantastical words that he's made up. And, that in itself is such an entertaining way of using language, of now opening up that vocabulary
Yeah.
from something that we think has to be strict with rules and
Yeah.
how the word is. And that's not even a word in a dictionary.
Yeah.
How did those words come about? We made those up
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
So I like that you're just, you're kicking down doors,
Yeah.
basically, like Saucy Wow said, right? Saucy Wow said to kick down the door and tell the man she sent you, right?
Yeah.
So you just like kicking down doors and saying, no, we don't want all this restriction and rules.
Yeah.
We want to just make this something that wherever your imagination could go, wherever your imagination can flow into, create something.
Yeah.
What do you want to create? And you're saying that this is something that you're getting a very good response from all ages. So the question is play only for children?
Of course not. I mean, we have these self-imposed rules, right?
Yes.
That you age out of doing this or you age out of doing that.
Yeah.
Is party not play?
I love
Right?
it. I love
I mean,
it.
and they have some of these big fats now where there are a lot of play activations going on. If you even look at just how brands are executing in any event now, you have the hacky sack coming back, and you have Jenga, and spin the wheel, and what that's not games.
And what about how you dance? I mean, there's now instructive dances. They tell you what to do, right? Just in case you have no rhythm.
Like me. So it's all right.
Just in case you have no rhythm, just follow the instructions. Or, people make up their own dance, what they call, scat. People make up their own movement.
Yeah.
You go to parties, you don't necessarily have to be able to do this kind of dance or that. And that's play too, as you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful thing to be able to use your body to move and to flex and to, just like you would use your mind and as a muscle to think and to imagine. And I like that you're introducing this immersive, interactive play for adults as well as children. Just release yourself. Isn't that what Mass is about? Isn't that what Carnival is about?
It's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, what we do with whether we're designing for adults or kids, is really looking at, especially with topics that could be boring or tedious or heavy, right? So like with the Magnificent, the most magnificent, these are buildings that are over 100 years old. How am I getting a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, of a 7-year-old to really care about these old buildings, right?
Yeah.
So I searched, started writing, it wasn't working, put it down, come back, put it down, come back, right? I mean, it took like about 7 years, to be honest. Seven magnificent, 7 buildings, and it took 7 years. But I realized that connects us where it wasn't just about because I started it initially as if these houses could talk, right? Because I walk around a lot. I do a lot of walking and changing directions and going up and down the savannah. I was fascinated by the buildings because my grandmother and I used to talk about it a lot. And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what if these buildings are watching me walking up and down and saying, what is this mad woman doing? And then I looked at them and I was like, I wonder who lives in these buildings and who cleans these buildings. And that's when I started to, what do we know about these buildings? They're there and we all know them, but what do we really know? So it went from if these buildings could talk kind of concept to, okay, what's the connection between a young child and an older, and then I positioned them as grandparents, right? And a young child never pictures really your grandparents being young as well, ever, right? So that's where the whole story is kind of built around. The grandparents telling children I used to be young too, you know. And my family did this. They built cinemas. I used to have all the prime ministers and, you know, so that kind of thing. But it's like, it's then how do you find something that connects to your audience, right? And then how do we put it in a format that connects with what they are enjoying already on YouTube and this and you know, why they want to go, not going to say brand, places, right? That are fun. They're fun, right? Is school fun, right? It may be recess.
Debatable.
Maybe recess and lunchtime, right? So like, I'm really about integrating play into it, because I believe, like I do with the books, I've always said this every interview where I started. I looked at textbooks, and then I look at picture books and storybooks, and I'm like, one is designed to entertain, and one. So why can't we make our textbooks look more like storybooks? Right? And that's why I use story as well. Why, instead of telling me was X plus Z or whatever, tell me a little story, you know? Tell me you had X, the mangoes was going down the road and two roll out, you know, something. And we might capture, like, me as a learner.
A more Caribbean feel to
and then contextualize it too, of course, because I have to learn about a fruit I don't know or see, right? And math. Right? So I'm like,
that's the appropriate expression for anytime you're talking about math, right?
And chemistry, and physics.
Listen, all the science majors are out there like, how dare you?
I know, ironically, right? Like, my, you know, there's a saying, like, you know, oh gosh, I can't remember. It's like basically, who has the last laugh, right? Because I dislike history in school. But what am I doing now? Like, what am I doing now? It's essentially history and research. And I over immerse myself in every angle and perspective on any topic I'm doing. Because I'm trying to tell a balanced story. I'm not trying to tell my opinion on a story, right? And I'm also trying to find, like, the middle point, because a lot of times you have, on the conservationist or the historian or the heritage side, right? You have a very clear mission of preservation of all costs or whatever, but that does not necessarily resonate with the average Joe. Why should I care? You know, look at with this building that is in disrepair or whatever.
I agree with you more. Jeunanne, we're going on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be getting into your book, Play a Mass. You're going to be reading to us. Listen, peoples, you know, it's my most favorite time of Book Club Corner when I get ready, right? I get to sit down with my drink and just relax and listen. So we're going on a quick break, and when we come back, Jeunanne Alkiins is going to be reading to us just some of her work from Play a Mass book, and she's going to also be giving some advice to writers. So you don't want to miss this segment coming up. Go quickly, use the bathroom, and take your bathroom break, get your drink, and come right back to Book Club Corner. We'll see you in a few minutes. And welcome back to Book Club Corner. We're here with Jeunanne Alkiins, and she's going to be reading to us from her book, Play a Mass. You all say I'm ready, yeah? I am ready. I have my drink. I'm in a comfy position. Jeunanne, are you ready?
Yeah, let me play a math.
Take it away.
So, Play a Math. This story begins close to the equator, on tiny islands filled with curious characters. Come with us as we take a peep into a world where imagination runs deep. In between the cloth, paint, wire, and glitter, we discover the richness of Caribbean culture. Night turning into day, they prance and sway. Making mass is how they play. Their stage is the street. Can you guess who we're about to meet? Dressed like a planter's wife, she brings the party to life. With a fancy skirt of full length, she was made to mock the French. Her big bouncing chest keeping time, while she jiggles her humongous behind. This lady took their Creole name, Curtsy, for the Dame Lorraine.
Oh.
Watax! Whip strikes like lightning, their skill is frightening. A small group together, they fight at each other. Whips handmade of rope or twine. Their skills are passed down over time. Now clear the way for the stir, the jab jab, also known as the whip master.
Whip master.
They take over the street with feathers on their heads and feet, a face disguised with paint or a mask, a headpiece so tall you're bound to ask, who is this character standing out as the best? Who is this one dressed to impress? A display of pride resembling the first American. Give a shout for the fancy Indian.
Aye.
So you see your little, there's my double
Yes.
vendor in the background, of course. Everything's like pepper. Baila, baila. Half donkey, half man. Here comes a dancing Venezuelan. An animal's head with human feet galloping through our streets. A bushy tail dressed up with flowers and reins in a rainbow of colors, with steps no one can beat. Now clap your hands for the burroquet.
Oh, I love it.
Covered in shiny scales, moving tongue and a long tail. Imps hold its chains and try to restrain. A fiery beast of power, but alas, afraid of water. This one dances in submission. Give a roar for the king beast, the dragon.
Papa.
Come one, come all, this mother with her doll walks the street for all to see. Watch out and take cover. She's looking for the father. It could be you or it could be me. Who knows, you may fall for the one we call baby doll.
Oh.
Clickety-clack, clickety-clack. Can we guess who's next? It's my most exciting, it's probably my favorite. So, tall like lampposts, long like road. They look like a walking tree, dancing above you and me. On stilts, high like a tower, swaying spirits of power. They cross the ocean to sweet TNT. Now rise up and say, a hip hip hooray for the book turns this way. Moko Jambi.
I like. We're gonna stop here, but because we don't want to give away the whole book, eh?
Yeah.
Right? Listen, if it's up to me, you read the whole book for me. But we have to leave some mystery. I like that you have now turned the book in another direction. Now the person has, so they see the full length of the stilt walker. You really get a graphic and a visceral idea that this person is very tall, right? And this book reads like Jeopardy, like what is, you know?
Yes, it's a good analogy. Yes.
What is X, Y, and Z, and you have to guess, and I really like that.
Yeah.
You should create a game, a Jeopardy mask game.
Well, so my team
That's
will
really
say
cute.
we've been saying this.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love. I really enjoy these stories, and as you know, the pop of sounds, and as you say, those cues where the parents get to really give the children, you know, a little extra pop
Yeah.
in terms of, you know, sometimes parents read a little more laid back, and this book is gonna make them get into character.
That's the idea. I mean, as a designer, I look at ways that I can assist the reader. You know, even with the format and turning the pages and stuff, I set limitations for myself because then it makes you more creative.
Yes.
So all of our books are in this 8x8 format, yet we have been able to create very different products for each one.
Yes.
Right? So we'll continue to explore. I mean, it will be easy to do all kind of fold-outs and stuff, but
Yeah,
to
and
me,
pop in the book, the
Yeah.
pop-ups in the book.
But if I can create the effects of some of those things just using really strong graphics, a well-placed text to create the
True.
illusion, then I feel that's like that. For me, I like
Yes.
design challenges like that.
Yes.
But
And what about textures? Have you thought of perhaps adding like feathers or
yeah,
sequins or
we
things
still.
like that?
So that's what we're bringing right back to Carnival School and our Player Mass
Oh,
camp.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this book is the jump off point, as I said. It introduces the 4 characters. You get the idea of how long the text is, not too heavy,
Yes.
but we're going to be exploring the characters individually through the camp. So there's the exhibition aspect of it, then there are experiences as well, right? I mean, if you're going to do a workshop on writing and it's inspired by the Mukojumbi, wouldn't you call it Tall Tales?
Yes, I most appropriate.
Yeah. So we're gonna be doing, and then again we go back to literary devices and teaching essay writing tips. So it's really an adjective workshop, but we're making it sound fun.
What would you, from your experience, your vast experience, your creative juices flowing, what advice would you give a writer? Perhaps one who is already in the game writing children's books, or perhaps somebody who's now starting out wondering, is children's book the genre for me?
Yeah.
And how you got into publishing. Would you recommend this to others?
So, I mean, I think I have unfairly stacked a little bit in that, remember, my day job is graphic design and creative direction, particularly. I work from when I was working full-time, I was directing artists under me. So I know how to direct a little bit different as my job, right? So I was able to fill a lot of roles that people would have to pay for, right? So, I mean, if you had to, honestly, in terms of your budget, if your budget is limited and you're the writer, I could say you could even make do with illustrations. It's children. The children's world is very forgiving. You could have scrappy, I call them crusty illustrations, which is my favorite. If you see the sketches I do,
Yeah.
there's no finessing there, right? And that could work, right? If that's an established style. So, but do not cut on editing and a book layout person, which is your graphic designer, because so many people, it's just, even from a cost perspective, you can make so many costly mistakes, stuff getting sunk into the spine. A graphic designer will help you with making sure your stuff is the right resolution so it doesn't print pixelated, all of that. And generally speaking, if you have somebody who's good at layout, putting your pictures and your words together, they would tell you the balance here of the amount of words to the amount of picture here is off, or this feels heavy, you know? I think that's one of the challenges most new writers in the children's space have. They use too much words. And when you balance it right, you don't need to describe what's in the picture. The picture is the picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're making the words bridge the picture and the story, right?
And I think that what we're looking at too is the different developmental milestones of the children as well. So, one age group may need less words. One can, take a bit more than the other age groups. So it really depends on if you're targeting, not just a very wide, it's just children, but what is that age group?
Yeah.
In the children's genre.
I mean, there's a lot of guides, the internet.
I like that.
And our friend, my best friend, ChatGPT, will answer any question. Like, hey, send me a pick me up today. You're doing an amazing job. But you could also ask questions or look at what you like, right? And search around those books, right? I mean, generally speaking, in the picture book category, particularly with new authors, the word count is always too high. You always have to cut, right? There are, and I was like, nah, man, I breaking the rules, whatever, the word counter. No, they're there for a reason. And you can tell because in like first edits when I test, you could see when they bored of you or they zone out, right? So make sure you're matching the recommended word counts, and whatever your first manuscript is, don't get too attached. It needs to cut and change and probably cut down by down to 3/4 of what it was. The second tip I would say that, and you mentioned it, so as I want to mention it, about what you liked about the book in the Jeopardy comment. one of the things we do in the book, because of read aloud and what works as I've gone along, and actually I did it in Hatch by mistake, not knowing, but I've gotten feedback that what works well with what we're doing is the page turn, right? So we leave you hanging on each page to want to, oh my gosh, who is that?
Yes.
So that's why we built in the baila baila, and and the rhythm of each. Every page is pretty much the same structure,
Yes.
right? But it leads up, and then it's do some action. Guess who the character is, right?
Yes. So it's kind of like a palette cleanser, but with a little hint. Turn the page, you'll find out more, kind of thing. I like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Listen, there is the NALIS. We want to make mention of NALIS's first-time author appreciation program. We want to make mention of that because a lot of authors miss the date and then they say, shucks, I didn't get to apply. Authors, NALIS is taking your application. If you are an author who has written their very first book to be published in the year 2024, so January 1st to December 31st of 2024, please go on the NALIS website and you can find the link for this form on the Book Club Corner Facebook page and on our Instagram account, so you don't have to wonder where to find it. Just go to Book Club Corner's Facebook page on Instagram and find the link to the form. Apply for that first-time authors appreciation program that NALIS has to give authors a boost and really to say thank you for your contribution to the literary arts and the orange economy. And on that note, we're wrapping up this amazing session today. We were here chatting with Ms. Jeunanne Alkiins, talking about her 4 books. And we're not just talking about the books, we are making sure that you know where to go get the books. So before we go, Jeunanne, please tell them, where can readers get your books?
Well, first and foremost, we are on Instagram and Facebook at We Are Bright Eyed. The overarching kids brand is Bright Eyed. So look for us anywhere at We Are Bright Eyed. Sign up for our mailing list and you get all the drops first about the different workshops we have, the events we have coming up, and any new books, right? And we keep it very active and we keep our store listing updated because we're expanding. So in Tobago, you can get it at Sure Things, Healing with Horses, Dreamsicle right now. I'm spending the rest of the day trying to make sure I have at least 3 more to add to that list.
Very good. And I love that you're making sure that Tobago's included in that list of where you can get the books, so that authors don't have to go shopping all over the place when they head to Trinidad. I have to wait until I get to Trinidad to get the book, right? Because I don't have that card to go on Amazon and get my stuff. So listen, if you're in Tobago, you can get the book at Dreamsicle, you can get the book at Short Things, and what was that third place?
And Healing with Horses and Buku.
Healing with Horses and Buku. And if you're in Trinidad, you can get the books where?
So in Trinidad, the list is a bit longer. You can get it any Nigel Khan bookseller store. There's Occasions in West Mall. There's Caboodle Gifts in Maraval, Rainy Days. Paper Base Bookshop, which is an excellent bookstore.
And Paper Base said you were one of their best-selling books.
Yeah.
So congrats.
Yeah, we do well in Paper Base.
Yes.
It's a lovely bookstore too because they genuinely are passionate about Caribbean authors. And the people who come there really are interested in it.
Yes.
So we do well there. And I recommend to anybody.
Yes.
Paper Based for sure if you're in Trinidad. There because the audience who's coming there appreciates what we're doing. I've been in stores that don't really appreciate it. And as a result, the book doesn't do well because they give you bottom shelf placements or something. And that's fine. You have a business to run. I understand that. So now as opposed to trying to put it everywhere, I put the book where they want us.
You go where the energy flows.
Yeah, correct.
I love that. Listen, I'm just putting it out there for all local bookstores. You're selling to our local population most of the time, and you are expecting us to spend our cash at your store. Please do the local authors some justice and support them, just as you want the public to support your bookstore and to purchase your books. That's just my 2 cents for our local bookstores out there. We'd support you more if you'd support us more. All right. So again, thank you for tuning in here on Book Club Corner. Every Wednesday, we chat with another amazing author about their books. We talk to publishing industry stakeholders about their love of the written word, about the books that they are publishing, journalists. I mean, listen, you name it. You're a writer. This is where you need to be on Book Club Corner. So thank you for being here with us. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, when we again chat with amazing and important authors and the voices of our Caribbean literature. We want to say cheers to you and take care of yourself. Be kind to each other. Read to each other. And Jeunanne, it was lovely having you.
Lovely chatting with you.
And we'll see you next week.